Hey everybody, this is Professor Jason Snart. I'm your instructor for our course here for the 5-week term in summer at College of DuPage. Obviously we're all online and virtual here. But I do a lot of these little video things throughout the term, mostly informational and just kind of reminders of due dates or of certain things that are going on in the class, whatever. Not a lot of lecture-based things. So these are important to watch, obviously, but they usually will just repeat information that, or maybe highlight information that's already in the course. So again, these aren't designed to be kind of like micro lectures of any kind. They're very informal and just off the cuff sort of things. One of the things that you'll notice, though, and this is part of what the premise for doing these kinds of this video kind of thing is that one of the things that I really want to make happen as much as possible in the online setting is for you to feel like you're actually part of a class, not just one person somewhere who is working through this static material that's online that has no input from me, or there's no sort of connection between you and I, or you and your classmates, or any of that kind of stuff. I think it's really important. Not only is it just sort of a better experience, I think, but it tends to help students do better. They stay engaged, they stay on top of the work, they have the sense that there's a kind of audience for the work that they're doing, for the writing that they're doing, for the ideas that they want to express and that kind of thing. So I really want to foster that sort of engagement. So you'll notice that, you know, obviously this is a way of kind of connecting me to you guys. But also one of our first things that we do in the course is you introduce yourself in a number of different ways. And part of that is visual. So you'll notice that for building your home page, or basically like your kind of initial greeting for the class, in addition to providing some information about yourself, you know, the usual "this is me" kind of stuff, it's really important that you include that picture. It doesn't need to be fancy or you know, anything really. It needs to be of you. Every once in a while people post pictures of their dog, which is interesting, but unless the dog is doing the coursework, that doesn't count. But clearly, you know, being able to connect a face to a name and having a sense of real people out there, even if we're scattered all over the country and sometimes even beyond the country, we still have this sense of cohesion, and it really helps to establish that sense of community early, and so it persists through our course. So that's part of, you know, what I'm trying to accomplish with these video things. They're not high tech. They're not laden with, you know, information or sort of lecture-based material. They're really just a way of making you feel connected to the course as a course, to a class that you're taking with a bunch of other people. So kind of connected to that then is one of the things you'll notice about our course is that it's not correspondence, or it's not self-paced, put it that way. There's a pretty rigorous set of due dates. They're connected to the units. Then you move through the units based on the due dates. It's fairly transparent, I hope. And so we really do move together as a class. It's not like you can really race ahead to do a bunch of stuff, because a lot of the components for what we're doing involves and requires interaction with your classmates. So certainly stay on top of things and stay, you know, up to date, but there's no real requirement that you work ahead. In fact, it sort of works against you in some ways if you race ahead and do things that we haven't talked about, I haven't done a video thing on, or other people haven't engaged with. Then you can get a certain piece of that work done, but it's not necessarily as good as it could be. And then oftentimes students who race ahead will forget that there's that interactive component and forget about it, and so they won't do that part of the assignment. And you'll notice that most of our assignments, if not all of them, involve some interactive component, and the grade is often not wholly based on that interaction, but certainly a large part of it is based on that interaction. So if you're missing that, you're missing a considerable number of points in some cases. Okay, so generally speaking then, success in any online course, but particularly ours, it really involves and depends on your engagement with the course. So that means obviously reading or watching stuff like this, reading fully through the material, Again, I think a habit that people develop when they're looking at an online course is to sort of skim through all the stuff that isn't the assignment that you have to do. And even if you get the assignment and then kind of go back to other stuff, often we don't really spend enough time on anything that isn't the specific assignment that's being given. So the first thing that I would say, in addition to just getting yourself oriented as far as the layout of the course, where can you find my contact info, basics like where are the due dates, how are the units arranged, and that kind of thing. Once you're into the course itself, to really make sure you're spending time within each of the units to cover the material that's assigned. So again, often people will kind of skip over the things that are going to just get in the way of finally getting to the assignment, and they think they're working efficiently by just getting to the required work. But of course, if you don't do all that other stuff, then there's going to be things that are missing in the required work. So not only could it be just wrong in some cases, you've done it incorrectly, but even if you've completed it on time, but you're only getting maybe half the credit because you've missed a huge portion of the instruction that is, elsewhere in the course. So my advice from the very get-go is to really kind of slow yourself down from jumping to the assignment part and making sure you really get a sense of the layout of the entire unit. Sometimes there's multiple sections or multiple folders. You want to, again, get a sense of that entirety before really drilling down and diving into the writing part of it or the assignment part of it. Having said that, though, so I want you to slow down. That's the first piece of advice. But hurry up. That's the second piece of advice. Not really, but obviously in the 5-week format, we are really compressing a lot of material into a very short time frame. So as I'd mentioned in my introductory email and the text announcement that you'll find in Blackboard, it's really, really important to basically devote the next 5 weeks, which is our term, to your primary focus needs to be this coursework. It can't just be something you do when you've got everything else in your life done, because of course that means it just gets bumped on the to-do list and there's always other stuff. Block out time each and every day that is specifically for this, which is really what going to a class is. If you were taking this course in a 16-week traditional format, a face-to-face format, you'd be going to class, let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for about an hour, the 50 minutes. And that's just the class time, to say nothing of any homework or outside work that you'd be doing. So just take that and think about the math of it. That's 3 hours per week, right? And we're working at basically triple the speed here. So think of the sheer number of hours that you'd want to be devoting to the course, or that you'd have to be devoting to the course if you were literally occupying a seat in a classroom. That's a lot of hours per week. So you can't just sort of fit it in after everything else at the end of the day when the kids are asleep finally, and you've got some free time. The last thing you're going to be motivated to do is spend 6 hours or 3 hours or an hour even working through the course material, whether it's the reading part, exercise stuff that's in the class, the writing component, whatever it might be. So you've really got to block out some significant time that is going to be your doing the schoolwork time. And again, don't block out like half an hour on Thursdays. That ain't going to cut it. That wouldn't even cut it, for a 16-week course, let alone the 5-week format. So take your time looking through everything, but make sure you're moving with the course. You're just keeping on top of things. Obviously, one of the things that can happen is people, in any kind of course, but online particularly, you miss a couple things and then you're sort of racing to catch up. And if you're doing multiple classes, you are stealing from one class so you can kind of use that time for another class, and that gets you behind in the other class and it snowballs. Well, that snowball happens even more, I don't know what the right word is, aggressively or dramatically, let's say, in our compressed 5-week format, because obviously you just don't have the time to catch up if you fall behind. And again, review things like the grading policies and late work policies and that kind of thing. it really puts a dent in things if you fall behind, miss a couple units, and all of a sudden, instead of working out of the full 1,000 points that the course is, you're looking at 800 because you've missed a couple things, and now the absolute best you can do is a B, and likely probably less than that. So it really pays to stay on top of things, and that really means that you have to take the initiative and block out for yourself time, considerable time for the next 5 weeks to make sure that you can do the coursework. Not just like, oh, thank God I got that done, but to the best of your ability. And that means, again, not just racing through the instruction part to get to the assignment part to finish it as fast as you can, but attending to the reading, the instruction, all that other stuff that obviously will feed into whatever the assignment is. If it's a major writing assignment, if it's a minor writing assignment, whatever it happens to be. And so that kind of leads to the last thing on that. Because I do so many of these, YouTube has graciously given me 15 minutes of YouTube time instead of 10 per video, which makes me happy, but I'm not sure that my viewership is necessarily thrilled with it, so I have just a few minutes more to go. One of the things that, if there's like one kind of big idea that's outside of the content of the course, it's not related to sort of the topics that we cover, it's that every time you do an assignment, whether it's a major writing assignment or minor or just whatever it is, remember that that's your opportunity to show me through that assessment device that you've understood and can now apply material that we're learning in the course. Sounds obvious enough, but it never fails to amaze me how often students, even ones who have clearly, engaged with material, the instruction part of the course, and then when it gets to the assessment part, it's like there's a total disconnect between those two things. Think of it in terms of like a history class or some really factual type of class. You'll learn a bunch of dates, important, events, whatever. You do a Scantron thing where you just bubble in a certain, what date did this event occur, and you just get it right or wrong. There's a clear connection between the learning part and the assessment part. Don't forget that that goes for our class as well, even though we're not doing just bubble Scantron or learning a bunch of data or information. There is certain information that we learn, and it's not quite so esoteric or abstract as people might think it is. But keep in mind that that assessment device, no matter what it is your way of showing me, just like that Scantron would be, of showing me that you get and can now apply stuff that we've learned in the course. So, to go back to the original point, if you're racing through the instruction part to do the assignment part, and the assignment part sucks, to be honest with you, because it shows me that clearly you haven't engaged with material in the course, I'm not going to spend hours giving you a bunch of feedback that would basically be reteaching the material that you clearly didn't spend the time to look at. You're just going to get a grade, and if it's low, then it's probably because that work doesn't reflect the goals or the learning objectives that we were trying to achieve, which are, I hope, made pretty clear throughout the course. One of the things that I'm really conscious of, in addition to trying to create that sort of class environment, is that really your interaction with the course is the course itself. There's not class time where we get to sort of interact in that face-to-face format. So I can't really bring the course to life to you like I would in that face-to-face. Now I'm racing because I can see the timer counting down. So I've tried to make things as organized and transparent as possible in terms of what you're supposed to do, when it's due, and what kinds of things I'm looking for. So I think your part of that now becomes taking the time to do the instruction piece, not just race to the assignment. But also, when you do get to that assignment, keep in mind that the goal of that is for you to show me that all of the other stuff we've covered in the class, you've in fact done, and can now show me that you get. Whether it's a major assignment or just a minor one, it's always that relationship between the learning piece and the assessment piece. Keep that in mind. That's our overarching kind of non-content idea for the course. Okay, I'm running out of seconds here, so welcome to the course. If you have any questions, be in touch with me, and I will talk to everybody soon.